Welcome back to another edition of Enters the Lab, man. It's your boy C Ham. I'm here with Sniggins and J Mick, and we're talking everything, man, before the draft, man. 2 weeks out, we're talking rising prospects, man, smokescreen season, lion season, and we're talking about what players can be possibly moved in draft day trades, man. So buckle up for another great episode of Enters the Lab. What up, though? Happy Thursday.
What up? Happy Thursday.
Made it. We made it, man. Another episode, man. Glad to be here. Man, 2 weeks out from the draft, man. But before we jump into the NFL, we got to talk about the amazing, the incomparable run that my Michigan Wolverines made in the NCAA basketball tournament, the national championships. All hail to the kings of basketball, baby. Michigan, man. Go blue. Go blue.
Congrats.
Yes,
congrats.
sir.
Congrats.
And as long as Duke ain't win, man, I'm good, man. That's what it comes
Yeah, I
down.
kind of feel that. It's true.
I knew it was going to be a short, conversation when it comes to Michigan doing that thing. I ain't going to beat nobody over the head. DT's not here, so I have really nobody to rub their nose in it, but we're going to keep it moving. And let's talk a little bit about before we go to the NFL, how do you guys feel about the kind of sudden change that's happening in college athletics overall with the transfer portal? I'm hearing a lot of bought not built conversation, but what do you guys kind of feel about the new age of college athletics and the transfer portal along with NIL? Is it a hindrance or does it enhance the game? Start with you, Snickers.
I mean, I really think it's a little bit of both. But I mean, I think it's starting to affect to a degree. I mean, you just saw it in college basketball. I mean, again, this is no knock on you guys winning. Congrats to you. All right, Florida had an older team last year too, but I think you guys wasn't like every starter in your starting five like 22 or older or something like that, or at least 22. I
don't know if they were that old. I know Yaxo is the older guy. All the rest of the guys.
I thought I read something like that, But to your point and to your question is I think, or like Indiana this year in football, we know they were an older team and stuff like that. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think where you can kind of see where it's a little crazy, man. You see all these people going through the loopholes, the transfer, how many times they've done it. I think at some point in time you have to form some type of limitation. I think to a degree there has to be like some type of rule set, because if not, like the kid for what was he for the quarterback doing the old Miss kid, the Chamberlain one keeps trying to transfer all the time. Yeah, see, I think that's a little. It feels like it's been like 20 times he's tried to transfer and go through the portal. It's like I don't know. So yeah,
he was actually granted his stay. I think he gets his. I don't know if it's 6 or 7.
I think it's 6. I think.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's just like times change, man. Like. Like college sports in the 80s and then the 90s and the 2000s until now, it's always evolving, always changing. So I think you just got to get with the times. I mean, you see, no matter what sport you're talking about, like you're seeing how these teams are winning. Like they tend to have older teams, and so if that's the way you got to win, then you gotta move ahead with the times. I mean, you can't complain about what was or what used to be. I mean, this is how they're winning. So you got to get in the transfer portal. I mean, you got to pay them money, and you got to do what it takes to win. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
And that's fair.
I saw that there was something interesting kind of suggested. I believe that a suggested rule change affecting eligibility. I saw it on Yahoo.com. I think they were saying that someone is proposing that there's a 5-year limit on eligibility, and it starts either from a player's high school graduation or their 19th birthday. I don't know how they kind of deviated and came up with those dates. I don't know if you graduate high school and maybe go to a JUCO or something, you get your 19th birthday. But even with that being said, we're seeing so many kids now in high school or maybe even earlier reclassify to a lower class. I can't see how that would kind of, how would that pass? How would that be implemented with so many kids already starting off coming into college now at 19 years old? You know what I mean? But as far as the bought versus built, mechanism, I think when you look at it, everybody's paying players. It's not like, guys are showing up playing for just, truly the school colors and, the pride. Everyone's, choosing to pay players. It's just about how who you pay, how you evaluate the talent and who you bring in. Dusty May seems to be a guy who is very, very familiar with the system, cutting edge, if you will. He's young. He's a great coach as well. And it seems like he's going to have some success in this system. We've seen some of the older coaches kind of, balk. Football, we saw a couple of guys run away. We saw Nick get out of the game. Tom Izzo was balking about, bought versus built this year. But his whole fan base wants to get into the portal and grab 2 or 3 guys to kind of help them get back to that upper echelon. It's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. But I don't think, to your point, J. Mick, I think you have to evolve, man, or die if you don't get involved. But let's keep it moving, man. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk a little bit about the NFL. And before we talk about draft, we saw basically free agency come down to a snail's pace. And we have a couple of quarterbacks who are in some new situations fairly recently. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on some of the quarterbacks who changed location and how would this affect their draft, their draft plans going forward, some of these teams, and also their plans going into the 2026 season. Let's start with Kirk Cousins going up to Las Vegas with the Raiders. How do you guys perceive his role out there, and what's the future for them?
To me, the Minnesota situation is kind of interesting to me. Because you got a guy like JJ, some people, I'm gonna say a lot, but some people love JJ coming to the league. JJ has gotten hurt, which he didn't really do at Michigan. So it's kind of odd for him. He got to the next level, to start getting hurt a lot. So I just think the Vikings are trying to protect themselves because, they have other people on the team. Like they have their roster is not a bad roster, to be honest with you. So you don't want to go into another year where it's either JJ or nothing. He gets hurt again, and and you're throwing guys out like Max Crosby or Cosmer or whatever his name was. That wasn't that he was that wasn't good. So I just think you have to protect yourself. It's also good for JJ to actually have to compete for the job and not just giving it to him. And so I just think that's a healthy competition. Now with the Raiders, I think it's just different. Like I think they're going to draft a quarterback at 1. And so I think them signing Kirk, it just allows them not to have to start the kid day 1. So I'm going to let the kid learn the system because he's learning a new system because of Kubiak's system. He's going to be under center more. I think there's a stat going around that he didn't take that many. I think he took like less than 5% of the snaps from center in his college career, something like that. So he has to kind of learn that. So that might take some time. You just don't want to rush the kid. So.
Yeah, but now, folks, I just want you to notice how, I said that we were going to start off with Las Vegas, and you see how J. Mick went straight to the failure of JJ. You see what I'm saying? That's how Michigan fans feel. We fresh off of Natty, you go straight to the failure. You ain't even mentioned Kyler. You just went to just talk about JJ failing. Let's talk about him falling off. And okay, yeah, now Las Vegas. Snickers, go ahead. Start off with Las Vegas, and then we'll go back to Minnesota, Snickers.
Am I up?
Oh yeah, you're up. You're up.
I didn't know if Jamie was still on. No, but I did notice that too. But you know what it was? Because you heard Kirk Cousins. You hear Kirk Cousins, you automatically think the Vikings a lot of times. That's what happens. It's true. You go back there. But so with the Raiders, listen, I think J. Mick, I think I think it's right. I think exactly what they're doing. The contract is essentially just a 1-year deal. I think they're bringing him in. They don't have to rush Mendoza if there happens to be a speed bump. Not that they're saying there will be, but you just never know. You have a veteran guy in the room. Nothing's wrong with that. Can pick up. We know he's a like blue collar guy. He's going to come in. What I'm saying. So they probably just want to set an example type thing. So I wouldn't look too much into that one. And then the Minnesota thing. I mean, it's true. I mean, now I even more concerned about it. I understand the injury stuff with McCarthy, but I just worry about the skill as well. Like, can he actually do it? I mean, I think it's a question over there. I think it's interesting what they're going to do. Curious what they're also going to do in the draft. I think that approach is going to be curious as well. But no, I mean, but there's not really much more. I mean, you have to they have to see what they have in him. But I would think at this point in time, you can't just, invest that type of draft capital. I mean, granted, they get rid of the guy who drafted him. I don't know if that would maybe come into play. Maybe that will make his leash a little shorter. Maybe they won't feel so bad taking him off the field because the regime, quote unquote, that drafted him is not there. So maybe that will come into play if he's not playing well. That can be, an excuse indoor. But other than that, I mean, I think they just have to see what they have with him and give it a shot one more time.
Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins was a little bit intriguing to me because I really feel like when you look at what the Raiders have done, I was calling them LA Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders have done in free agency, they've spent a lot of money, got a lot of players on that team that I think can improve that team. That division has become very, very, very competitive the last couple of years. I don't know if they can win, but I feel like that they can make a little bit of noise in that division, maybe get up to 6, 7, 8 wins possibly in that division. And you could probably do that with a veteran quarterback. When we talk about Mendoza, I think there's a lot to like about him, but he didn't really, wow me this past year. I didn't really, come away feeling like he's some type of savior to a franchise. He just happened to come along a year where there wasn't a strong quarterback class, in my opinion. So I'm not totally wowed by him, and maybe he does need to sit, for maybe, a couple of games, possibly the year. And I thought that was a great move. Kyler's intriguing because not the biggest Kyler fan, the player, but when you look at the traits and some of the skills that he has, I mean, he's a blessed guy. He wasn't blessed with a lot of height, but what he can do in terms of his arm talent, man, and with his legs is going to be intriguing. And KOC hasn't really had a guy with as much of the athletic profile like this before. And again, he's kind of known as that QB whisperer, and he goes to a situation, man. Well, you got JJ and a couple of other weapons out there, so that can be dangerous there. And again, if he dials in and can somehow bring the best out of Kyler, that can definitely be dangerous for us in our division and for the rest of the league. But let's talk a little bit about Pittsburgh, because we don't know what's going on for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if this is an annual retreat time for him. I don't know if he's somewhere in a dark room, somewhere in the 10, 12 feet deep in a cave somewhere. But, if you're Pittsburgh, how do you feel about your quarterback room? Is it basically just Will Howard? Are you pretty much fully committed to Aaron Rodgers coming back? And if not, who are you looking at possibly in the draft in a couple of weeks?
I mean, the funny thing is like how we feel outside of, because we're all not Steeler fans, right? So you talk to Steeler fans, like they love Will Howard. Like, yeah, I mean, whenever I listen in on the Steelers, it's like you would have thought that Will Howard was like a day 1, a day 2 pick. That's what they talk about. Like, that's what you would think. But like people outside of Pittsburgh, I don't view Will Howard like that. I view him as just some guy on your depth chart that you hope could be a backup. That's it. And I fully expect Aaron Rodgers to come back. I fully expect them to even draft another quarterback this year, maybe not in the first round, but I mean, like there are guys like, Beck and, Drew Allar and Nussmeyer. There are guys that you could take later on in the draft. And I think the Steelers got like 11, 12 picks. So if you're asking me who I think is going to be the starter, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers showed like at points last season that he still got a little bit of juice left. And so I just think that's the route they're going to go. And either they're going to draft a quarterback this year. If they don't take one this year, they're definitely taking one in the 27 class, because everybody is like goo goo gaga over the 27, QB draft class. So.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think, and even one of the reasons McCarthy probably took the job for at least just to start off is because maybe he thought Rodgers most likely was going to come back. So I'm sure that made a little, because I agree. I mean, I agree on I've heard Steelers fans talk about Will Howard like he's a Buckeye legend, but I mean, at this point in time, I'm wondering, is he going to beat out Mason Rudolph? That, like, if I was a Steelers fan, my conversation would be, are you good enough to beat out Mason? Like, let's start there, man. But no, I think Rodgers comes back. they to J-Mick's point about them having a lot of picks, they kind of are in a good position with what they want to do. They do have a lot of picks, so maybe do they want to maneuver those or try to move up and get somebody? Do they just want to draft somebody later and then let them develop, like go that route? Or like you said, maybe they won't be stellar. They'll have a decent pick next year, and then you can kind of figure it out then. But no, I think they're going to get Rodgers for one more year. Let McCarthy kind of set the tone there. Do his little culture, whatever he needs to set there for a season, and then they'll figure it out.
Now, to your point that, next year is supposed to be a little bit more talent rich, especially at the quarterback spot, but will they be bad enough? You know what I mean? I feel like their team is like always trying to make the playoffs and on that edge of being, playoff worthy. And I think they're still kind of there, but I also question like how much buy-in can you get from all the guys who are showing up for these OTAs and your supposed quarterback is somewhere in the hole smoking hookah somewhere.
So here I'll give you a hypothetical. You ready? Let's say they end up with pick 18. I'm just picking a number, right? That's like middle of the pack, right? For how they always are. If you have pick number 5, would you take pick 18 and TJ Watt for pick 5?
Man, it depends on who's there, but most likely.
Just throwing it out there. I'm just saying. So maybe you never know.
Does the subtraction of TJ Watt plus that pick, I mean, the subtraction of TJ Watt, you know what I'm saying, and us falling back, does that put them in an elite status? Or does that give us more? They could pick Kenny Pickett at 5. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true.
That same GM is still there. I don't know.
And when they picked him, they told us that he was the next, greatest thing since sliced bread. So I don't like. It just feels like they're searching for their next Roethlisberger, and they're having a hard time finding him. Hard time.
Yeah. I mean, finding a quarterback is not an easy task.
It's not. You're absolutely. It is true. Like I say that, but that it is very true.
Yeah.
It's not.
You know what, J-Mick? I agree with you. But then I see a guy like Sam Darnold, who people threw on the scrap heap, and for the last 2 years has been pretty damn good. Good enough to win a Super Bowl and good enough to take a team to a playoff. So I mean, yeah, maybe long term, maybe a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback is definitely hard to find that cornerstone. But to have somebody who can win a playoff game, though, when your roster pretty much seems already playoff ready everywhere else, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of these teams picking in the top 10, top 15, their roster is not. Their roster not ready to go out and win the Super Bowl. All they look at, because the problem is if all you need is a quarterback, you're not drafting in the top 15. Like your team's gonna be good enough to get you close to the like pretty much what the Steelers are, like 8, 9, 10 wins a season, and that's what makes it hard. So if you're one of those teams with a roster built out, then you gotta, if you see a quarterback you like, you're gonna have to trade assets in the draft to get up to like what the Chiefs did with Mahomes, what the Bills did with Josh Allen, like situations like that. You're gonna have to trade up to find your guy, and I mean that's a risky proposition. So
why can't they find their Brock Purdy? I mean, they've definitely tried. They've definitely thrown. They've
tried, man. But like the J-Make's point, man, like that's hard. I mean, and when I say this name, I'm not comparing their careers. I'm just saying it. But I'm pretty aren't like him and Brady the only two drafted like pretty much round 6 and 7 that have started as many games as they both have. I'm pretty sure. Like it's just like I'm talking like it just I don't know, man. It's just the J-Make's point. It's not easy. And we completely lucked out with that, please. That pick saved jobs. But that's a whole different show.
Yeah, I mean, like quarterbacks can do that for you, though. I mean, like, especially you don't take them in the first round. If you find that gem in rounds 2 through 7, and they turn out to be guys that I can say lead you to the Super Bowl, but your team gets you as a collective, you get to the Super Bowl. I mean, as a GM and a like a president of football operations, that's going to save your job 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, when you to that point, you talk about a Jalen Hurts. I had Russell Wilson in my head, but Russell was kind of definitely far exceeded, his expectations as a 3rd round pick. But I just feel like they should have. When I hear about how good their GM is, how good their front office is, how consistent they've been in the drafts and other positions, I guess they have been fairly consistent. But it's like, why haven't you been able to find some type of competent replacement for Ben up until this point? But with that, let's wrap that up and let's kind of keep it moving. Let's go to smoke season or I don't want to know. This is not lion season yet. But let's talk about some of these prospects, some of these guys who are going to be participating in the upcoming draft. who you like. They could be guys who are considered first round guys or maybe day 2 or 3 guys. Who's raising up you guys' boards right now?
All right.
I mean, for me, I got to look at the corner from Tennessee. Like I think his name's McCoy. He just had his pro day where he ran. I think he ran like a 4.38 40. And for him, it's a lot of intrigue because he didn't play last year because I think he got hurt the previous year. I think he had like an ACL, so he just sat out the whole year. And so with him doing the pro day, he finally worked out because he didn't do the combine neither. I think doing that, I think he kind of solidified himself as the second corner that's going to get taken. I kind of had him there already. I do think Mansour Delane is better, but I don't think McCoy is that far behind. I just think, like I said, there's a lot of intrigue with him because he did not play. I think he's moving up the boards. Also, I think Mesidor, I think that's since the combine. I think Mesidor, a lot of people are kind of scared of his age, but if you're in a win now situation and you need an edge rusher, I just think, I mean, he's a pretty much finished product. I don't think his ceiling is crazy high, but I do think he comes in with a high floor, which like a lot of teams, like if you're a team that made the playoffs, and you're looking for like an additional edge rusher, I think he's pretty much the guy. And then my third guy would have to be Eli Stowers. I mean, he had a great combine, and like he's taken a lot of top 30 visits with a lot of different teams. And I just think he's kind of solidified his spot as the number 2 tight end in this particular draft.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, I wrote down some guys that I just like starting to like. I mean, even if we're calling like underrated, or I know some a little bit of talked about, but so some that I like a lot. I like I think Jake Slaughter, the center from Florida. I think he's good. I think he's not being talked about enough. I like Tapon's look at his pro day.
Yeah, he looked awesome.
Right. I thought he looked really, really good. So been looking into him a little bit more. Damon Claiborne, running back from Wake Forest. I'm starting to like him. I think he has a lot of potential to be big play capability there. I think not kind of being talked about a lot. And then to J-Mick's point with the tight ends, one of the guys that started to move up my board a lot, I'm a little surprised in because I just started kind of looking into tight ends a little bit more. It's Max Clare from Ohio State. Starting to like him a little bit more than I thought I would. So yeah, I mean, there's some other guys like I like Lawrence a lot from UCF. I think and Warren, the safety from Toledo. Those are probably two of my really big. Yeah, those are probably two of my biggest draft crushes. I'm starting to also become a big Tyson fan, the receiver. I was nervous about it. Now these are like big name guys, but yeah, but like I said, just recently I started looking more into like receivers and tight ends, like as we're getting closer to the draft, and I'm starting to really, really like him a lot. But yeah, those other guys I mentioned, there's some underrated guys, just guys that I just don't think we talk about enough that I like.
You guys brought up some very interesting names. I know that we had talked about, I think on your show, the Checkpoint, J-Mick, that about some different variations of pass rushers that the Lions may be looking at. And I know I kind of ruled out some of the guys who I thought were more so outside linebacker type guys like, Cassius Howe, guys like Malachi Lawrence. But I think from what I've been hearing, that we're going to be doing a little bit more variance in our fronts and that we may be looking at some of those more linear pass rushers and possibly look at acquiring them in the draft. So those guys have definitely, raised my eyebrows a little bit, Cassius Howe especially. But I'm glad you brought up Jordan Tyson because I looked at a lot of his, when I say a lot, but some of his film, and he looks awesome on tape. But I do give pause because of the injury history and that he really hasn't been able to work out any of this draft season. I think he's going to have a individual workout, I think like either this Friday or next Friday. But do you think his stock has risen, fallen, or kind of maintained? Because I hear him at times as a number 1 receiver, but then I hear some folks who are kind of, afraid on him, and they'll put him behind, they'll put him at receiver 4 or 5 just strictly on the injury history. So how do you guys evaluate him coming into the draft?
Jordan Tyson to me is the most talented receiver in the class. And I viewed him like that for a long time. Like I've always said, if he stays healthy, he's the best. Like I think he's better than Carnell Tate. I think he's better than Makai out at USC. I just think the talent level that he has is special. Like I think he's a wide receiver 1. Like he can play the X like day 1 if he can stay healthy. So, but for me, like he hasn't really worked out. So it's like, to me, it's like I don't think he's gone up or he's gone. I mean, on some teams' boards, he's probably gone down because of injuries. Some teams probably see the talent and are going to take the whole shot with the talent, and he's risen up boards. I just think it kind of depends on how how the draft board goes, in 2 weeks. But like from a route runner perspective, I mean his routes are crisp. I mean he's going to high point the ball a lot. He can get separate. I mean he does all the things that you want a number one wide receiver to do. It's just, can he stay healthy? That's the question for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think honestly, CN, I would be a little surprised if he's not, within the first 3 or 4 receivers taken. I would be a little surprised at that, unless people just said, like, we get it, because he hasn't had a lot of workouts, or, maybe the injury stuff does scare people, like how the short arm stuff does for some people, but I would be a little surprised. Like, that would be, like, if that happened, that would be a story. Like, oh, Tyson taken at number 27.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you. I mean, if he there at 31, I mean, the Patriots better draft him. I'll tell you.
That's exactly how I feel like.
You guys are willing to roll the dice on him.
Oh no, 100%, bro. If he fell to 27, unless there was just some other like really great player that also slid. No way. If he fell to 27, I would absolutely, knowing that we're going to be eventually moving off of Ayuk, I would take him 100%.
Okay.
Man, I would run to the podium at 31.
Yeah. I think anything past 20.
So you like him a lot better than your Chris Brazzle guy.
I mean, Brazzle's cool, but Brazzle is no Jordan Tyson. He's just not.
Okay.
So
let me ask you this. I know both of you guys are SEC guys. There's been a lot of talk. We need an edge. I'm sorry, we need a tackle. We need a tackle and an edge, to be clear. But we're looking at tackle. I'm hearing a lot of noise about, Freeling. We talked about them during our mock. But now we're hearing a lot about Caden Proctor rising up the boards. I am not so impressed with Caden Proctor, but I would say this. I haven't seen a lot of his football. I have seen the last 2 games in their entirety when he played Michigan. Now, to me, there was a lot of times he had issues dealing with Derek Moore, and he had issues dealing with Josiah Stewart, who went, I think, in the 4th round to the Rams last year. A little bit of an undersized defensive end, but a guy with a great motor. Does he have problems with speed rushers? What is you guys' evaluation of Caden Proctor? Would he be a worthy pick to you guys at 17 in this draft?
See, these are always
Don't everybody speak at once. Don't everybody speak at once.
No, because these are always tough. I was gonna say, because you want to see how the board is. Like, I mean, depending on how my board looks, I don't know if I would take him at 17. Now, if he's there, and like, obviously, and I can tell, okay, he's definitely obviously one of the best players available right now. And on top of that, he's also in need, or I could definitely take him for a year and then make him a starter next year. Because maybe there's like a really good veteran, like something like that. He'll play guard or something like that, right? Do one of those kind of things. So yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it'd be labeled as a bad pick, not at all. But I mean, I would just want to see how the board looks at 17. Like, going back to the guy we're talking about, like, what if he's still there at 17? Like, what if Tyson's there at 17? I would be conflicted. Who do I go with? See what I mean?
I don't like Caden Proctor as a prospect. I'm gonna be honest.
And he doesn't like him. See,
I don't like him at all.
See what I mean? See what I mean? That's why
I'm iffy.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know if he's gonna be a tackle at the next level. To be honest with you, like, I don't. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's got the measurables to be. He's got the athleticism to be a tackle. But what he showed me in college football, he's really inconsistent. Like, his technique is inconsistent. His footwork is inconsistent. Like. And I mean, like, I don't know if he's gonna make it at guard either, because I just think he's too big to be a guard. Like, and I get it. You got guys like Mekhi Becton that successfully transitioned from tackle to guard and did it well with the Eagles. But then you saw what he did when he went to the Chargers. He was awful. Right. So I mean, if I needed a tackle prospect, I'd rather draft Max out of Arizona State at 17. I know that's. Some people might think that's a reach. It's kind of early.
That's a little rich, but he's also rising at boards as well.
Yeah, but I mean, if you told me how to take a tackle at 17 and you gave me those 2 choices, I would take Max first. I mean, I'd even take Blake Miller first. I mean, over Caden Pryor. Like, I'm not a believer. It's not because I'm a Georgia fan and I don't like Alabama. There are Bama prospects that I like, and he's just not one of them.
So a little bit stems from my Bama. I shouldn't say Bama bias, but I do look at schools and how former prospects have done. Not the best track record for tackles. Again, the tape to me is very inconsistent. I think he does have a lot of great physical skills. I mean, huge guy, strong guy. At times looks, very, very quick and agile for his size, but at times does get, looks a little bit out of control because it's hard, man. It's a freight train once it gets out there, rumbling out there a little bit. So, and I think that, if I had some type of guarantees or felt strongly about his discipline and that I can get him consistently between 340 pounds, 350 pounds, I think I can get a special player at that weight. But 365 and bigger, and we're talking about a guy who's basically still a baby at this point in time. Just a little bit, I'm a little worried there. But I have a GM who has a track record of really, really loving Alabama players. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, we have JMO, we have Branch. So he definitely likes that Alabama school of thought. Now, have we drafted a Kalen DeBoer Alabamian? Not yet. So we'll see, if that happens this draft. But just wanted to throw a couple of names out there. We talked about the guys who may be ascending. Let's talk about some guys who may be falling down some boards. And is it Lion season or is it legitimate concerns? Who are some names that you guys want to throw out there? Let's start with you, J. Mick.
I hate to say my guy's name, but it's kind of CJ Allen. Like at some point, he was a mid-rounder, first rounder at some point. Now it's looking like he's a back end of the first round. He seemed to be kind of falling a little bit. That's my guy. Like I think he's really good as your old school kind of linebacker that comes down to like hits. Running backs and kind of like protects the middle. His pass coverage is it's a little bit questionable. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think it's something that he can do. I think Avian Terrell's stock is also kind of dropping with the whole news of his he had a hamstring injury at his pro day or something like that. So he kind of fallen a little bit, and obviously Caleb Banks with the whole foot thing at the combine. Like I still think Caleb Banks is a first round talent. But the injury thing, and he's been injured before, so I think that's going to play into some teams maybe not wanting to take that risk on a guy that's well over 300 pounds and that's got foot issues. So,
no, yeah, he was somebody that I was going to mention for sure. Then I don't know how people feel about him. I mean, I'm not really too big on Denzel Boston. So I mean, but I was going to mention Banks with the foot, that's always like a worrisome thing, especially with a guy his size. I think there's a lineman from Boise State who was getting some kind of hype because I think he did well at the Senior Bowl. I think his last name is Casey. I think his last name is. I was reading about him earlier, and he's kind of not. Yeah, he's not doing so hot right now. So we'll see.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys. When we talk about those defensive ends, again, we're in the edge business. TJ Parker is a guy who, a lot of folks thought coming into the season was going to be a high end first round guy. Had a little bit of a down year. Kind of hearing his name kind of up and down. I don't know if it's because of his play or problems with his game or his production from this year, or just kind of other names kind of being elevated. When you talk about CJ Allen, I'm still a big fan of his. I think that maybe not his game, but I think this positional value. We hear so many folks talk about positional value these days. Caleb Downs may fall out of the top 5 to 8 picks because people don't feel like a safety is worth, that high of a pick. I think with CJ Allen, to me, he's definitely one of the top 20, 25 players in this draft. So it'd be surprising if he doesn't get drafted in the first round. But I think also the linebacker position is a little bit devalued because I like a couple of guys like Anthony Hill. Even Rodriguez a little bit, maybe not as a first round pick, but as going to be a top 45, 50 type guy. And I've seen him on some of these mocks. We never know where a guy's going to go, but I've seen him fall as far as the third round. So I think positional value can be overrated or underrated. Because if you get a stud at one of those positions that you feel is, not really, highly valued, that can be still a great player. Like, I was a little bit astounded when we drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. I liked the player. I thought he was going to be a great guy, but I also thought that he probably would be around at 20. And I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't know quite what we were drafting, and he has far exceeded, my expectations. And Dan Campbell just came out last week and said, hey, if he could have drafted him at 6, I think we initially traded down and got him at 12. So if he would have got him at 6, he would have did that. So those special players, man, regardless of position, man, they don't come around too often. If you get a chance to get them to your team and your roster, add them to your team and your roster, man. Don't pass on that. Let's keep it moving, man. Let's talk about possibly some guys who could be traded, could be moved on draft day. Definitely a couple of names to throw out there. We know that, the San Francisco 49ers have Brandon Ayuk in the cut. Saying some folks out there in Washington think you guys are kind of holding him hostage over there. What's the latest on him, man? What is San Francisco hoping to get in return for him?
Well, so the thing, like the biggest thing with that situation is, he was always, no matter what, going to be somebody moved post June 1st, because that just helps out better with, like, the cap situation, the dead money that enables the Niners to, like, spread over the dead money over 2 seasons instead of just having it all, like, taken hit in one. So, but I think it's just one of those things where, yes, I know the old saying, like, okay, well, we know he's going to get released. Like, why are they going to, like, somebody's going to give a pick for him? But listen, like, you just never know. Like, I think it's one of those things where you don't want to think this, but maybe something happens where somebody has an injury on a team. Maybe something else comes up. Maybe somebody's draft board doesn't go the way they thought. They thought they were going to get a receiver, and now they maybe are willing to give the Niners a 6th-round pick on draft day. So I think they're just trying to hold out for it. Do I think it's likely? No. I'm sure he will end up being released. I'm sure he'll sign like a 1-year prove-it deal with the Commanders, and we'll go from there. We'll all see how he does. But I think that's sort of like the underlining hope. The Niners only have 6 picks. They have a 1st round, a 2nd round, and then they have 4 in the 4th round, and that's it. So that's kind of, I think, the thinking behind it is like, like, listen, let's try. You just never know. Maybe somebody will bite on draft day or getting closer to it. You just never know how these things go.
So let me ask you this. You bring up an intriguing point about him being possibly a free agent and kind of going an prove-it deal. So we know that there's supposed to be rules and regulations, and I'm sure he probably at this point, under the rules and regulations, probably shouldn't be talking to other teams about possible deals. But we've heard about a couple of teams who are definitely in the market for his services. What would happen, or could it be possible for his agent to possibly have some backdoor conversations with someone, and say a team is offering, maybe, I don't want to say the team that we've been rumored to hear him go to is willing to offer him $7-8 million a year plus the incentives. Right. Say another said team who's interested in him would say, hey, you know what, talk to this agent and say, hey, we'll go as high as $12 million. We'll guarantee maybe, I don't know, 40-50% more than the previous offers, and we'll go as high as $12 million. Could said deal happen behind the scenes and be consummated with some type of pick swap during this year's draft? I
mean, there could be. I mean, listen, I think an agent, I don't think you're not doing your job if you're not having, those kind of conversations, and listen, and that could play into why maybe the Niners haven't released him yet, or already, like released him and marked him, June 1st, because maybe to your point, they're like, listen, like they could tell the Commanders, hey, well, what if we are having conversations with somebody else? Well, what do we do? What if we do know there might be another team that might be interested, or maybe Ayuk's having a change of heart. Maybe he's not a slam dunk to go to the Commanders, So I think that's all very possible. I don't think it's completely out of the. I just, because sometimes the most obvious team isn't always the team that ends up with the player. So maybe something like that could happen. But that, still feels like a likely scenario, but we'll see. But I mean, listen, I'm not ruling out a trade. I'm just not putting a very high likely percentage on it for him, at least for him.
Let's talk about somebody else, man. Somebody who may interest you, J. Mick. There's a guy who may be a little bit disgruntled with his quarterback up in Philadelphia, man. And there's been said that there's some mutual interest with him possibly coming to New England, man. What do you think about AJ Brown? The possibility or the probability that he'll be moved either during the draft or before June, and what would a team like the New England Patriots be willing to give up for a talent like AJ Brown?
I mean, I think it's 0% chance he gets traded at the draft. I think it's 0% chance he get traded before June 1st because the way his contract is set up, it's like they got to eat so much dead money. But if you wait till after June 1st, then like the dead money is decreased. So I think if he does get traded, it'll be after June 1st. I know that my GM has repeatedly said that we're not giving up a 27 first round pick. I mean, everybody loves the draft next year, especially in the first round with the amount of talent at so many different positions. So I don't think we would be giving that up. We might give them maybe a second and a fourth or a second and a fifth, something like that, if they're willing to take that. And then also, I mean, AJ's an aging wide receiver. I'm not saying he's old like 35, but he's 29 years old. I mean, everybody knows that he's got kind of knee issues had over the last couple of years. So I mean, if they're looking to get a first round pick out of us for next year, I don't see that happening. My GM is, I mean, he's pretty much steadfast. Like when he says he's going to do something, he pretty much does it. I mean, he doesn't have the notoriety like Howie. I'm not saying he's as good of a GM as Howie, but he's pretty much as stern as Howie is. So if he's saying he's not giving up that 27 first, then I believe him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like I'm one of the Patriot fans. Like I don't necessarily engage in AJ Brown talk. Like I just don't because I just don't like. I don't know why if I'm the Eagles, I would move him because he's an essential part of that team. Take him off that team, it really makes that offense not as good. And I mean, personally, if I was a fan or I worked for the team, I just wouldn't do it.
That's interesting, man. Because I you know what, I like him a lot as a player, but I think eventually they may have to make a choice. And to your point, he is a 29-year-old receiver, and if there's a situation that arises that him and the quarterback who touches the ball every offensive play and is a few years younger than him cannot coexist, I fully expect them to choose the quarterback over the Asian receiver. But with that being said, if depending on the offer, you never know. You never say never. If someone says, "Hey, man, we'll give you," just like you say, if you added your one this year and the 2 and the 4 for next year, I think Philadelphia will have to listen to that. I think that's a very interesting, proposal. Now it's a rich proposal, but again, with that talent-rich draft of 27, and then again getting a pick in 31, the ability to probably replace AJ Brown to some capacity this year in a draft that isn't bad at receiver. I think they feel pretty highly about Devontae Smith. They did re-sign Goddard, but he's getting a little older and has had some injuries. So, but it could be time to to retool and a couple of extra picks in the talent-rich draft. That may, get the restart, going kind of nicely. So I wouldn't put it past them. But to your point, he is very, very much a central part to what they got going on right now. Let's talk about a couple of other guys. What you guys think about Jordan Brooks of Miami? They've been kind of going through a fire sale down there in Miami. Would he interest either one of your teams? And what's the probability that you guys think that he could be moved during draft?
I could see the Dolphins being sellers to some players. I think Zach Sealer could be another guy that they could consider trading too. I don't know. I don't think the Niners would be interested in Brooks. Sealer maybe, depending on this contract, but Brooks no. Mainly because they brought back Greenlaw. They still have Winters. We took Nick Martin last year, and obviously Fred's there, so I don't think they would. But the Dolphins in general, I think they're gonna if you made me tell you 3 or 4 teams that I thought would be like movers and shakers on draft day, they would have been on my list. Just because they're in that mode right now. They don't really they have. I don't mean this to be mean, but they don't really even have really any true franchise guys. Maybe outside A-Chain. Maybe you want to take a stab at dark at maybe one of their young defensive players.
Point,
I think you're right. You know what I'm saying? They're like when you get on Madden and you pick the worst team on purpose. That's what you're doing right now. You're kind of and they're not that bad, but you know what I'm saying? They're just, they need to put some new tools in the shed. It's time. So, yeah.
Now, if you're A-Chan, how do you feel about, what's going on around it? I mean, it's being stripped down to the studs around you. You're a running back. You play a highly volatile position. Do you axe out and try to get in a better situation?
I mean, I think they might end up paying him. I don't know what Jamie was going to say about it, but I mean, we'll see what they do.
I mean, for me, it's my being in that division, talking to a lot of Dolphin fans, and just hearing what's like. I think they traded all the skill offensive players that they could trade at this point. I think you got to have somebody there as a foundation piece, and I think he's a foundation piece for them. He's still pretty young, even though he's been going. I think he's going to his 4th year. I think he's only like 24 or 25. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he's still in that good area of like running back age where he still give you another good 3 to 5 years if he keeps himself in good condition. So I don't think he gets moved. Jordan Brooks, they won't trade him to us obviously because we're in the division. Like they're not gonna like premium. And I mean, like we do need linebackers. I mean, like that's the one skill set on the Patriots defense that's a little bit weak. That we're probably going to address in the draft. I mean, if I was a team outside of the division that I needed a linebacker and they weren't they weren't trying to rob my bank, then cool. Like because I believe he was all pro last year, so he had a really good year. So I mean,
he led the league in tackles, so definitely had definitely raised a couple of eyebrows. He's a good player.
Yeah, so I mean, if you can give them conversation that doesn't break your back, like I mean, maybe like a mid-level, maybe like a 3rd, 4th round pick if they would take that. Then that's something that I would entertain if I was on the team. And I need a linebacker. So I mean, the thing with the Dolphins is that they're rebuilding. It's not like they don't have talent, but I just think that they saw that with the current constructs of that team, they weren't going where they wanted to go, so they just tore it all down, and now they're trying to build it back up. So,
man, they like they're a long way. I don't know. Maybe they got the secret, man. Maybe they got the Dusty May. They got the Dusty May dust.
I mean, they got dust. I mean, if they draft well this year, I don't think it's going to take them as long as you think. I want to say they got like 4 or 5 picks in the first 4 rounds. It might be 6.
Okay,
it's something like that.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah,
and the other thing too that will help them is the Malik Willis thing. If he ends up actually being something, even if he's like it's just going to help the process. I'm not telling you I think to be a long-term answer, but I'm just saying, like to J Make's point, if they hit on some of these draft picks and he's actually not that bad and they can work with him, then it probably might be sped up a little quicker than people think.
And then if he's trashed this year and they get a top 5 pick, they can always draft a quarterback next year.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So like I say, so that's why I think they're going to be movers and shakers, because they are not tied to anybody right now. They're not. It's just they're ready to wheel and deal and build up their roster.
Ooh, who's the coach down there again?
Hafley.
Yeah, Hafley, like DC from
He's
Green
Hafley good.
Man, hey, you got about 2-3 years, man. I hope you know what I'm saying.
And then I think at the minimum, he's gonna get that defense right at the minimum. So
yeah, that he would. No, it's true, and like you said, they already seem to be doing the right thing. They're moving out the contracts. They're not going to win this year and stuff like that. So, they took the 2 a hit. It is what it is. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll do a check-in 2 years, see how they're looking.
Last but not least, man, let's talk about this gentleman from the Minnesota Vikings, man, who's rumored to be on the trading block. Jonathan Grenard, man, defensive end / outside linebacker, has had a little bit of an injury history, but has been very, very productive when healthy, man. Do you think he has a healthy market here, and could he possibly be moved during the draft or during the duration of the offseason?
I'm a little. He's one of those players. I'm actually a little surprised he wasn't moved sort of already. I thought he could, because he was almost moved to the deadline last year. I just thought he was a guy that I would. I mean, now going back to, I said we wouldn't take Brooks, but I would take him on the Niners. I would be interested. I hear you wanted a little bit of you taking the risk there, but with the injury thing like that. But I would take him, especially if it was just for like a 4th round pick, like one of our 4th or something like that. I would be interested. But I could see him potentially.
And I don't know.
It's not as common as the NBA, but I can see it happening. What's that?
I don't think he has any guaranteed money left. I think he has a nice cap number. I think he's maybe 14, 15 million. So kind of not in that Thibodeau area, but has been a little bit more productive. So I think he's a very intriguing name. I don't know if he goes for I don't know if you get a day 2 pick for him, but I think a day 3 or day 4, day 3 a 4th round pick will probably net you Jonathan Grenard. And if you're a pass rush needy team, I think he's a worthy investment. So,
I mean, for me, I thought the time for him to be moved was right before the league year, because that's when the Vikings had all their cap issues. They solved their cap issues, and unless you're going to give them a 2nd round pick, I don't see him being moved.
Second, bro? You think he'll net a 2nd?
That's high.
I'm just saying now, like they don't have money issues anymore. Like they're under the salary cap. They don't have to move him anymore. So I just think it's a point where if he's asking for a pay raise and they're not willing to give it to him, then granted, like they'll move him. But other than that, I mean, like Grenard's a good player, man. If I'm them, I just keep him. Like I'd at least keep him until the trade deadline, until maybe you might be able to get more at that point, because you never know. Like there might be teams going for the Super Bowl and they're desperate and they're going to need an edge, and they feel like he's someone that's going to change the game for that defense.
Man, listen, I need one of y'all to come here to get him out this division, because they won't trade him to us. We need an edge, but they won't trade him to us. So I need one of y'all, somebody, anybody, come get him up out of here, man. Come get him up out of here, man. Until we get this right tackle situation together, we need Grenard up out of here, man.
I mean, I don't blame you.
Well, folks, hey, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. I want to thank you guys for definitely taking some time out and joining us on the Enters the Lab podcast. Definitely want to give a shout out to Lady E and DT, and tell you to definitely check us out next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday. Don't know what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be something draft intensive, I guarantee. So with that being said, we're going to sign on off. J. Mick, Snuggins, until next week.
Later.